Okay, let's move forward to the next part of our workshop, and we have got a terrific panel that I think can provide a lot of relevance in terms of implementing some of the things and the kinds of things we just talked about, not just from a perspective of advertising or social media, but maybe even your physical space and what tools might be available to help you do that. So we'll start off. I'll ask our wonderful panelists, starting with Tara, to introduce themselves.
Awesome, thank you. Well, good afternoon. My name is Tara Bradshaw. I work with the Georgia Municipal Association. We are the membership organization for all 536 cities in the state of Georgia. We have a nonprofit under that organization called the Georgia Cities Foundation, and I work with that group as manager of economic development and placemaking. So that was a lot of words to say that I work with cities in helping them with their economic development strategies and helping them design and create beautiful public spaces to support small businesses. I took a few minutes to prepare for this, and by a few minutes, I created a few visuals on AI, and what a time to be alive. Side note, here we are, Gen X and millennials again, trying to figure out a way to make AI adapt to our lives and other technology, so that's always fun, but it is great to help our productivity and through ideation. So I did a little bit of that yesterday, getting in preparation for this. So what is placemaking? One of the things we do is, like I said, we assist cities in helping them design and implement public spaces. That could be anything from streetscapes to sidewalks, parks, alleyways, you name it. And we do that all in an effort to create a place where visitors and our community will linger and gather. And we do that also so that we can leverage private investment and support small businesses, because we know when we do that and we create a place and we create an economy for those things to happen, that we create jobs, we further grow our local economy, and then we also can recruit and retain talent. And this becomes incredibly important. Avondale Estates is a great partner in that. They are doing a great job. I came here a few years ago with the streetscape development happening, and wow, it's fantastic to see it all coming together now. So one of the things that I want to just mention today is that your physical place, your business, is such a great partner in the placemaking efforts that the City of Avondale and the DDA and the community has taken on here. But aside from that, it is also where your brand becomes real for your customers. And so, we like to talk in terms of the public realm and the private realm. And, that can be translated in a lot of different ways, from, your overall layout of your business to its physical location, but also in details, right? What does your customer experience the first 5 seconds that they're in your store, and does it align with the brand that you are communicating there? We want to make sure that your place is just as special as the place that we're creating on the public sector, on the public realm. The Cheers reference has already been made today, and I'm so thankful that I was not the one to roll it out. Customers really want to be where everyone knows their name. How special do you feel when you walk into a store or any sort of place of business and the owner knows who you are? And that is truly what customers want, and we can create that through our physical space that we occupy. And then I also just want to leave you with this. Whenever we're talking about placemaking with cities, what they're doing in terms of, and we'll use Avondale for an example, they're curating events, they're building sidewalks, building streetscapes, doing everything they can to attract an engaged audience into downtown and into the business district. And what you can do as a business owner is to tap into that, right? You're doing a little bit of that now, creating community amongst yourselves. It's always awesome to see business owners gather together in one place, but then leaning into creating that experience together for those visitors, and leaning into what the community is doing and leveraging that for longer stays of your customers and higher returns. So anyways, thank you for giving me just a moment to introduce myself, and I'm happy to entertain questions later.
Hello, I'm Jeff Doherty. I'm CEO, founder of Thunderheel, a boutique marketing advertising agency here in Avondale. I've been in the space for over 20 years at this point. I've started at Fortune 100s and Twice now, I've started at small agencies and helped them grow and then left and decided I'm not doing that again. So I'm doing it for myself this time. So I have Thunder Heel. It was my daughter used to, when she was a baby, would slam her legs down on the changing table so hard, we started calling her Thunder Heel. So when it was time for me to start my business, I was like, that's a stupid enough name for an ad agency. That works. So Thunder Heel was born. I also have done plenty of these kind of engagements. I speak at Rutgers and NYU, adjuncting classes when I was in New York. So I'm here today to talk to you guys, try to get a little bit more technical and practical into your physical businesses. It's a little hard because you all have really different needs, right? There's the physical location, if you're doing lead gen, if you're selling products, right? Or trying to get leads. There's a huge handout that we have there that I put together for you. So you can look at some of these things. I do Tim's first, because it kind of coincides, right? I'll touch on a couple of those key ones, right? Some of the basics, like things that we all know to do, but have you done it, right? Like do a mirror test. Google your competitors. Have you done that? Have you Googled yourself, your own business? Get off your Wi-Fi, right? Don't try to do it in incognito. Is everything right? Like the basic, like that's the front door of your business to some extent with a lot of these things when you're talking local. Is the website correct? Is the phone number correct? Are your hours correct? Anything that's not right there is a bad omen for somebody that's looking for your business, right? You need to make sure that's correct and claim those things. Claim your Apple business maps and those types of things as well. And then moving into that trust scenario, right? So, while Tim was talking about the brand on that side, which 100%, I'm also a little bit more practical on top of that. That's great, that's where your core is, but your customers don't care about your brand story to some extent, right? When they're looking for immediacy. You need to tell them exactly what it is you do, who you serve, and where you are, right? That's basics. It's replace the AI-driven ad copy, right? AI is great, use it for a lot of stuff, but high-quality service doesn't tell you anything. What I need to know is, we do X for Y in this location, right? Like boom, boom, boom. You have to present real, because while it's, to Tim's point, it's not just a transaction, you still have to make sure the transaction happens, right? There's those things as well. And we can get more into a lot of this stuff, and then focusing on the action, right? So I kind of put this together in that findability. Can you be found? Can you provide the trust and create that action from that side? So some of the basics. Are you mobile friendly, right? Look at if you have analytics on your site or those things. I'm sure 60 to 70% of your traffic is mobile at this point, right? People aren't sitting on their desktops anymore, particularly for location-based scenarios. Do you have a click-to-call option for them to call? Is the forms, are they simple, right? The more fields you add to forms, the less your engagement happens, right? If that's the lead gen side. But then more importantly, getting back to them. It's just that simple. Are you actually getting back to the people in a timely fashion to close those loops? And then how do we track all this, right? You track the leads. What is that lead to customer rate? And then what is that cost per lead? If you don't have that necessarily, like they're coming into the physical location, have you set up like the store visit tracking kind of stuff and some of that analytics to give you what that is and what that time on site is, right? All of these are indicators as to how you're doing, or else not, you're just kind of flying blind saying, I think it's resonating, I don't know. And then, there's more we can get into on some of these things in the advertising models as well, but you need to make sure you're doing all these basics first before you start spending a bunch of money on advertising, right? But then when you are ready to spend on advertising, the question I always get is, where do I spend it, right? Well, if high intent people are actively looking for a service, that's more of your Google side, right? That's people raising their hand. I'm looking for this. If you're trying to get in front of them in that other scenario, that's going to be more of your meta advertising at this point. TikTok's a whole nother animal. We can talk about that too. But for what we're doing at this point, I would say meta is probably 90% of what you guys would be in that space for. And that's in that people not searching. But that's where you use your local reach, right? Your promotions, your events, right? Because that's more of that immediacy. And I think, there's quite a bit there, but I'm happy to talk more about any of these things. But I'll pass it off to Jen, who we work together on quite a few things, so that kind of coincides.
Yes, we actually happen to literally be neighbors. So anyway, so I'm Jennifer Joyner, and I've actually lived here in Avondale for 20 years now. Our home turns 100 years old this year, so it's been pretty exciting to be part of this neighborhood all this time. I also serve on the Downtown Development Authority. I'm in my third term, so a little over 8 years. So I've really been witness to a lot of your businesses that have either opened during that time or have been here through that entire time. And it's been really great to be part of this community. Okay, wait, I gotta learn this thing, right? Yes, okay. So real quick, I actually got into social media about 15 years ago. It's funny, the name of your company is based on your child, and same with mine. The name of my company is 5 and 2. Those were the ages of my girls when I decided to start this business. Keeps it easy when I'm trying to remember how long I've been doing it for. Prior to that, I actually had been in retail. I was an account manager for about 14 years prior to that, and traveled a whole bunch, and just had a little bit of a crossroads when one of the companies I was working with decided to close their office here in Atlanta, and I realized I needed to do something a little bit different. I didn't want to travel as much anymore, and social media had just started coming on the scene. Like Facebook for Business was a brand new concept. And I just started working for a couple local businesses. I've actually grown my business really 100% word of mouth. And it's mostly because of just learning that there was a little bit of a niche out there. There's small businesses that knew they wanted to be on social media, but you're running a small business and it's like another level of something to do and maybe needed a little help. So I've really enjoyed it because it's helped me stay connected with the community. I feel like I've helped amplify, a smaller niche in this business community. And it also has given me some opportunity to work on some national brands as well, but I actually really prefer working with the local community. So some of the things we're gonna kind of talk about a little bit later is just like how to keep this simple. I get it, social media, it changes all the time. I've been doing it for 15 years and the algorithms change all the time. There's new platforms that come out. There's so much, so how can you keep it simple? What can you do to just kind of stick to the basics? Make it manageable for you, and how to keep what kind of ideas could you use for content when you're stuck, and also how to grow locally, how to really reach your customer and be relevant for your business and who you're trying to reach. Some quick, simple things. Again, we'll get into a little bit more with our Q&A, but consistency over perfection. Just be intentional, be authentic. You don't really have to be everything for everybody. Some of the great features that social media has, it's just sometimes it's a little thing. It's collaborating with maybe it's another local business that you're partnering on an event with. Using the stories feature, which is a quick way to just share something to your feed. If you don't have time to post something all the time, you can quickly put something out there, and we can talk a little more detail about what that includes. Pinned posts, that's another, if you have an event that's coming up or a product launch, a big announcement, you can use that feature to pin that exciting announcement to the top of your feed so it stays up there as long as you need it to be. Also, what matters now? Back in the day, it was how many likes do I have? Oh my God, they have so many likes. That's what made it seem like you're this great business. Back in the day, actually, a lot of those people bought those likes. And several years ago, Facebook, which, Meta is the parent company of Facebook, they do Facebook and Instagram. They kind of went through and scrubbed a lot of that stuff out. So all of those, a lot of those likes that you saw these people had tons of, you started seeing dips in it because it was bots, it wasn't real accounts. So spending more time looking at your engagement and your reach, and are people actually, doing something on the post, that's actually more important than 10,000 likes. So we'll get into that a little bit more. And then using tools, what can you use to help your time management? Again, you're running a business. You have, customers coming in, or you're placing orders. What kind of tools are out there that can help you schedule posts out, or have some auto responses to things, things that make it simple for you so you don't have to feel like you're on your account all the time and managing it. So again, we'll kind of talk about some key takeaways, but knowing your audience, Tim did a great job of launching that, and definitely knowing who are you trying to reach. Do you have to be on every single platform? You don't. So figure out, what platforms your customers are using the most, and focusing kind of, narrow and deep there. Being consistent and authentic. And like I said, just make it manageable for you. What can you do to keep it sustainable, and not feel like you have to be constantly posting? One thing I say all the time is, like, one good authentic post a week is better than 7 just random, like, oh, I just got to get something up there. So again, I guess we'll talk about that in a little more detail. So, yep.
Okay.
Oh, you have one.
Clicker.
Oh, clicker.
So the way this will work is I'm going to ask each panelist just a little bit more, a question to allow them to go just a little bit broader, a little bit deeper on what they just said, and then we'll give everybody in the audience an opportunity to ask a question. So starting, Tara, with you, in the concept of physical space, well, obviously we're going to talk a lot about social media soon, but about the physical space, how can we as business owners think a little bit differently about our physical space, and once to actually establish our brand, to do the kinds of things that we've been talking about today, and once they're in, once a customer is in my business, what are some low-cost ways, things that I can do to improve the experience and make it more positive and memorable for the customer once they're there?
So one of the things that I always try to lean into in terms of your brand strategy and communicating who you are, like I said before, when someone enters your physical space, that is where your brand becomes real, especially in downtown businesses and small business districts like you have, where you are in the food industry or retail industry or some sort of service. We want to make sure, one of the biggest things that happens is there's this mismatch between what you're communicating through social media or advertising or whatever other strategies you're working on. There's a mismatch and a misalignment between that and what your physical space and your place strategy is. And so what I would encourage you to do is just think about your storefronts and your places as your first employee, right? Has everybody heard this before? Like, they are your storefront and your space, from the sidewalk all the way into the cash register or wherever they're headed, is the employee that is always there working, whether you are or not. It is constantly telling people, this is who I am, this is what I sell, and you have 5 seconds to make that good impression. And so I can't tell you how disheartening it is when I'm in a downtown and I'm following a business online and I see all these great things they're posting, and then I get in their space and I'm like, oh, they just missed the mark. And so some of those simple things are, what is the customer seeing the first 5 seconds they're there? How am I connected to the public realm, the sidewalk that's in front of me, right? Or it could be a street or whatever your physical space is. How am I connected to the public realm, and how am I drawing that customer in? And then once they get in there, are there opportunities for them to linger, to hang out? Is there seating? Is there, good lighting and music? I mean, all these things seem so simple, but when you put them together, they really can create a very powerful message for your physical space. And so, I think that place strategy is just as important as any other sort of brand strategy that you're that you're going to be talking about today. It's incredibly important for you to align what you're telling people of who you are and who you want to attract to what your physical space looks like.
Thank you. Shift over to Jennifer. You were talking a few minutes ago about that one really meaningful, authentic post a week is probably better than 7, randos. I think that we've got a real array of social media savvy here in the audience. I think there's some folks that, are
I
brilliant
follow
posters.
you all.
Yeah. So I guess my question is on the topic, posting 101, right? What constitutes something that people will view as an authentic, in-depth post? What kinds of things should I be thinking about? And do I need to have a frequency reminder? Just sort of posting 101 from your perspective.
Yeah, so I say kind of go back to the basics. It's like who you are, what who, what, where, when, why. Like what your business is, what are you selling, or what is your service? Kind of how did I get here? Your story is always a great, I guess if you're stumped on things to talk about and things to post, you can always go back to those basics. Think of your social media feed as your website. It's actually probably one of the best search engines out there now. I mean, people, yes, they go to Google, but a lot of people are also just going over to Instagram and looking up your business. So make sure, you have up in your profile your hours, a link to your website, just the basics, like it just as if they were going to be going to your website to get information. Or your storefront, what products are you selling? And if you have the opportunity to link also to your products, that's a great, you can always go back and kind of keep reiterating those basics. I think that we're talking a little bit about AI and ChatGPT and I look at AI as for something that you guys can use for good. So yes, it gets a little crazy sometimes, but if you start putting prompts into ChatGPT, you can use that as a tool to help you schedule out posts. It's actually going to start to learn your voice and your tone. And eventually you can say to it like, hey, I've got this event coming up in 3 weeks and here's the date. This is when it's happening. Help me with, spit out 10 posts that, can help me lead up to this time frame. And then there's tools that are actually built within Meta, and there's some third-party tools that you can use to help schedule yourself out. So we'll talk a little bit more about also like time management and how, finding the right time to, carving out time for social media. It can feel overwhelming, but I think with some tools and just kind of sticking to the basics, I think is really important. Another really great thing if you are running into, you can't figure out what to post, see what's going on in the neighborhood. Maybe you're not always posting about your business every day or every week. If there's a local event happening, tag on to that. Use the Explore Avondale, the city's websites, their feeds, tag them so that they can share what you're posting as well. Those are also great ways to collaborate with different businesses out there. And it helps the overall, this like kind of behind the scenes algorithm that is constantly changing with social media. But if you're kind of bouncing off each other and sharing ideas, I really think that also helps with your organic reach and overall engagement. One last other little quick tip is with Instagram, there is the stories feature, which again, you can take someone else's post and share it to your story really with just a click of a button. And that is going to also just help the overall engagement on your page. It's going to help people see what you're sharing. It's just another kind of quick way to get something out there without having to spend too much time if you're stuck on what to post.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeff, a couple of the things that we hear routinely from our stakeholders, our businesses, is they don't have a lot of time. Their time and energy go into trying to run and build their businesses. And we referenced it earlier, it wasn't a real robust January and February from a revenue standpoint across the board. So I don't know that anybody is just dripping in extra budget right now. What are some, simple steps that a business can take that maybe doesn't take a whole lot of time or a big investment to try to start a program to gain more customers?
It's a great question because, yeah, we all have limited time and budget on that side, right? I go back to one of the things I was saying is own your front door, right? Make sure that your Google business profile is up to date and that you are keeping it up to date, right? Because there's nothing worse than it not being accurate. Holiday hours, right? Are you open? Updating those photos that are there, right? Now, people can post on your behalf, they can tag places, but you update the photos on there as well to keep it current. Because have you ever gone to look up a restaurant and you pull up the map and then you pull up the photos and they're from 6 years ago and you're like, do they care about their business? Is this still what it looks like? I'm trying to get what's a vibe check? I need a vibe check of this place before I go in there, right? So keep those things updated. That's simple, right? Phone numbers and those things. And then as far as getting into the money, right, from there, I see a lot of these things as deciding you're going to do some advertising, be it on Google or Meta or anywhere, not having a goal and just kind of, I'm just going to put this, my customers can be anyone, so I'm going to put it out to everyone. That's not helpful, and you need to also measure those things. So what are you getting for your dollars? If it's not measurable, it's not actionable, right? You can't figure that, get to that next part. And I also see a lot of small business owners fall into the trap. Are you all, I assume at least 70% of you are iPhone users? Yeah. Don't advertise on Instagram from your iPhone. Apple takes a 30% cut through the Play Store or through the App Store. You have to go to your computer if you're going to do advertising on that space to save that money, right? Every penny counts. So,
but their ad made me cry.
Yeah, because they have a big budget agency, because you paid for that. Yeah, so keep it local. Make sure it's actionable, right? You don't need a lot of money. I mean, you can do, if you're going to put money on something, once you have those basics done, you have your GMB, you have your Apple Place. I talk about Apple Business Connect as well. That one's important if you do email marketing as well, because you claim that, then you can brand it. So on your iPhone, when you get your emails from those people, they have the logo next to those emails. That's how you get there, right? So it adds that additional layer of branding to you as well, that consistent message. Once those things are good, then you can do a little advertising. You can, like I said, if it's people searching for something that you offer direct, Google might be a good spot for it, very tight, direct. If it's, restaurant, kind of retail location kind of stuff, and you're trying to get that pull audience on that side, focus your audience, right? Keep your locations there. More importantly, get rid of the stuff you don't want, right? And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, right? We can get into a lot of the details about creative on that side and content, but I mean, I'm talking 10 bucks a day, maybe, right? You could kind of get quite a bit of learnings and start making actionable stuff. And I would say even from that side, if you're really looking at closing that gap, focus on the remarketing aspect first, right? Google Analytics is free. A lot of these things have tools that are free. So have you pixeled your website or your, and your socials on that stuff to draw in that audience, to know how many people you're hitting, and then you create a funnel from that, right? So they visited the site, they visited a certain page, they didn't convert. Okay, I want to show an ad to that person that got all the way through there but didn't convert, to show them maybe the next value proposition, right? What is my USP? Why should they convert? Or if they've done business with you before, you need to re-engage that, hey, I have a special, I have a promotion, right? So you want to re-engage with that. That's not necessarily something you'd put out to everybody, but you can do those things very inexpensively, and it's measurable, right? And then as it gets more touch points, it raises it actually becomes cheaper to continue to do it, right? Because people are engaging with it. That's what we say. In the Facebook world, the average person scrolls the length of the Statue of Liberty every day on their phone. 302 feet with your, so if you're investing, look for hand surgeons, because everybody's gonna need one. But you have to, so you're competing against people that aren't your competitors, because they're all, it's all the same people. So you have to have a tighter target, focus your message, and make sure it's actionable. If that helps.
Very good, thank you. Great answers all. So what questions do you have? Let's open it up and see if there's anything specific that anybody in the audience would like to talk about. Yes. Did everybody hear the question? It was about, are there certain words or key phrases that the algorithms look for? Is there anything we should, really try to make sure is there or try to avoid? Is that effectively?
So actually, we probably both.
That's a great question, by
answer
the way.
this
Thank you.
question a little bit because, we could share the mic. But so Google does index what you're putting out there. And so, the more you're using keywords and phrases, it does start kind of picking up. And that's where it kind of then filters into more of Jeff's world of like search engine optimization and things like that. In terms of social media and what you're posting, I would say, I would just think about the buzzwords that work best for your business. So yes, if you're having an event, you might want to include a call to action, register here, or, if it's a sale that you have coming up, talk about, percentage off, buy one, get one free. I would think that maybe you could speak a little bit more to how it in terms of like searching so that people find you more. Is that what you're asking for?
Algorithmic preference based on terminology.
Right. Yeah, and that's where, like I talked a little earlier, like the algorithms, they do change all the time, and it is, it can be very frustrating to how to keep up with those. That's where you might want to consider doing some boosting and some paid advertising if you're really trying to get a specific message out there. I know right now, one of the new kind of tips that I'm hearing is to, and you can't really do this in Instagram because you can't put a live link into your comment section, but if it's LinkedIn or Facebook, a lot of people now are recommending to put your link actually into your first comment. So yeah, so like if you're having, here's on our event, it's coming up, blah, 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 register to link in the, look in the comments to link. And kind of the theory behind that is it's keeping your customer on that post just a little bit longer. They're hanging out, the hang time on that post is just a little bit longer. So, then it's giving them an action. So as I was saying before, a little bit about how likes aren't as important, but engagement is huge. Well, that, just them going down and reading that comment and then clicking on it to take them somewhere is more engagement. So it actually is helping just the overall, algorithm to kick up in your favor. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a list of words that are going to trigger the algorithm to show it more. But like she was saying, it's that engagement, right? So you see it all the time. Link in comments, or you can also on the Instagram or a link in bio. You can have, I think, 3 links in your bio. So you have your main website, and then you can have one that rotates out, right? It's because it's that engagement. People click on it to they then view your profile to get to that link, right? So that post or whatever now has some engagement behind it. It's the same thing you see with other people that are doing lead gen. They're like, comment Sisyphus and I'll send you what, blah, blah, blah. It's to increase that engagement, right? And then it's an AI autoresponder that'll automatically DM you stuff. It's a way to get engagement on that side. But to go back to the other side, talking about the algorithm as well, we did mention since June or July of last year, Google is indexing Instagram as well. So there is a strategy there to, every once in a while, have a very robust post that talks about your particular business. You can pin this, right? But it doesn't read the image, right, as well. So have some text on there and post it, because that will get picked up in the Google overall algorithm. Which, side note, 3 days ago, a new Google Core algorithm just started launching out to everybody, so enjoy. They changed the algorithm, it'll be fun. My team's loving it.
Yes. Did everybody hear that?
Do hashtags.
Thank you, Morgan. Great question.
Yes. Somewhat. When you talk the search engine optimization stuff, yes, most people think Google. About 50% of the searches are now like people are using social for a search engine. I don't know how much content you guys have, but YouTube is the second largest search engine. People are on there searching for things as well. If you have video content about your business and what you do, right? That's a very important place. But yeah, it's gotten better. It's not so much hashtag, but we've been conditioned to still search in a hashtag world. So users of a certain age group are still focusing more in that space, right? As we get to more almost voice to search kind of stuff in that AI enhanced search world. So hashtags, still viable, still important, but don't put 17 hashtags on your post, right? Keep it to your core. Yeah, it's more text, and it can read your images, so text on the images is better, right? There used to be a rule in Meta in that world that 20%, you could only have 20% text in your images, and the AI can read a lot more of that, but you can augment that with the text. I always advocate for a lot, some more text on those things, because if you're posting in like Reels or things like that, or stories, like, they're not seeing it. Stories go away, but Reels will stay. But nobody's reading that stuff that much, but it is findable in that search world when somebody actually does search for something nearby. That's my take on it.
Yeah, well, and again, yes, things continue to change because now with Instagram Reels, I think they're actually limiting you to 5 hashtags, which is, it used to be you would see some of these posts that had 30 hashtags. So my answer to that, I agree hashtags are still relevant and important. What I usually try to do is pick kind of a broad hashtag. So maybe, it's just, hashtag, maybe it's like, Christmas Day or whatever, something that everybody's using. And then try to do some really kind of hyper local, really like authentic to your business. So like, croissant release or whatever, like something that really, have a variety of hashtags is what I would say, is do like 1 or 2 that are kind of broad reaching for everyone, and then a couple that really are specific to your business and potentially like, like hashtag Avondale Estates, for instance, something very local.
Eric, you had a question?
Avondale Estates, what's the top 5 restaurants? Or, I need this done, people are looking for solutions. How is AI pulling that information? And is there a way to get your business more recognized on that platform?
That's a good one.
She says that's a good question as she hands the microphone to Jeff.
That's a sneaky one.
We all look to Jeff.
Great
Yeah.
move.
It is a good question, and it comes up constantly, right? It's what everybody's talking about right now. But at the end of the day, A lot of the AI stuff is still doing some of the SEO stuff that we have been doing. There's just a little bit more technical implementation that should go behind it. Now, when I say that, I don't mean you guys need to be programmers or anything of that nature, right? There's some simple things. On your website, do you have an FAQ section, right? FAQs, AI loves that stuff. It loves listicles and FAQs. Like you were just saying, what are the top 5 things to do? It's gonna try to find articles that list the top 5 things to do. So your business can list the top 5 things to do in Avondale. You know, go get a croissant and then go get some bacon and then buy a coffee and head to garage door, right? Like you can tell it and help that out. But more importantly, those FAQs about your own business, right? And you do it in a way, and I can get into details about actual schema and these things, these like technical jargon on the back end. AI can help you write that, right? If you have access to your website, like you can say, I want to put these FAQs up there, write the schema for me, and it'll tell you what to do and exactly where to put it, right? You don't need me. If you'd like to, I'm here to do that. Talk to me or Lachey, we're happy to do it for you. But the schema is telling the search engines and the AI what it is, right? So it's not trying to read the site and understand what it is. You're literally telling it, hey, this is for you, search engine AI, this is what this is about, this is how it's structured. So you put it in order of importance and the authenticity and the authority on that side and what the links to that side. So those things are what help, right? AI pulls a lot from third-party sources, so that's why we talk heavily about your GMB and getting reviews, right? Those are very important in that AI side because it ranks those. And then that technical back end where you're telling it. From a restaurant perspective, do you just have a picture of your menu? Can it read that properly? Maybe there's a way to have some back end of what those items are on your menu as well, right? That technical back end to tell them, hey, this change, right? That helps that SEO and it also helps the AI side. I hope that slightly answers your question. Yeah.
Shannon.
I wanted to, we talked a lot about social media. I want to turn some attention to Tara here. Can you talk, you're working with businesses and cities around the entire state. Can you talk some about the successes that you've seen other businesses use to either create placemaking, and you kind of mentioned in your opening remarks, tapping into events or creating places within your own businesses. Can you give us some examples of what you've seen work in other communities?
Sure. We talk in terms of real estate, and the best places to be in the state of Georgia right now are downtowns, or that term beachfront property. Downtowns are kind of beachfront property right now in terms of where to locate your small business. And a lot of that circles around the fact that you have a ton of investment, public investment going into those spaces. One of the things that we try to do is work with the cities and the small business owners to help them understand that the magic that happens between those two realms, right, where the public realm meets the private realm, can be truly powerful. We see more economic development and more private investment in our downtowns than we do in manufacturing right now. Across the state. And we have small South Georgia towns turning out millions of dollars a year in private investment through exactly what you're doing, small businesses, because the cities have decided to invest in those, excuse me, y'all, allergies. The cities have decided to invest in those spaces. Some of the great things that we see happening is when a business decides to locate downtown, a successful small business in a downtown will realize that space is a great leveraging point for them, right? How can I work with the business next door and collaborate? How can I tap in and be part of this community? And honestly, because of the public investment into downtown, you not only should have a desire as a business owner, but it's almost like you have a responsibility, right? Do any of you feel that way? And I find this across the state, that if I have a business owner opening in downtown, they almost feel responsible for helping to keep that up. Because at the end of the day, small businesses are the reason people are coming down there. We can make those sidewalks as pretty as they can be, but they're coming down there to see you guys, and they're coming back because of you guys. So we want to make sure that you have every opportunity to leverage the audience we're bringing to you. Some of the practical ways, when your downtown development authority or your Main Street program is hosting an event, figure out a way that you can align your operating hours with that, right? How can you get your audience to feed into that event? And then more importantly, how can you get that audience that the city's bringing to your doorstep, right? And so some of the most successful partnerships we see are when owners of businesses collaborate with your DDA staff and say, hey, I'm going to extend my store hours. It's something that small, just, as a visitor to those events that are happening, that speaks a lot to me about how much you value your community if you say, hey, I'm going to stay open for an hour or two later today. The other part of just physical space in downtowns that we see that's really successful is when you really lean into your brand and make your physical space a representation of that, right? So you saw the storefront I showed, just kind of plain Jane versus the storefront that's got the lights and the, just very attractive qualities. I'm sure that aligns well with their restaurant. I was in Rome, Georgia last week, and one of the coolest stores is a place called Spacey K's. You can check her out. She has gone viral on TikTok for she waged a war against Chinese suppliers and said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done fighting for every dollar I'm earning. I'm just going to design my own clothing. And she went viral, and she's got like this punk, edgy line that she creates. But what she has done for downtown Rome is her space speaks her brand. It is this electric blue storefront. She's got edgy art out on the sidewalk. When you walk by that space, you know who Spacey K is, and you know that she is happy to be a part of that downtown. And so I really think leaning into how you can capture that audience that the community is bringing right to your doorfront and really get involved from a community standpoint. I hope that helps answer the question. Yes.
Of his reinvestments into the cities, are you noticing a population threshold of what cities are getting investment and or investing in themselves? Because I would consider maybe having the smallest type of population that actually has a reasonable funding budget. Or somebody like maybe like Cedartown.
Yeah, well, what you see is communities that have less resources are, number one, being more tenacious with what they have, right? So they're figuring out ways to make their dollars go farther and to phase it out. That's one of the things that we do at Georgia Cities Foundation is help cities plan for these investments. So what you're seeing Avondale do in 5 years, we're helping cities figure out how to do it in 10 to 20 years. The other thing that they're doing is reprioritizing where they're spending their money, and it is taking some convincing. I don't know if you're familiar with Homerville, Georgia. Anybody know Homerville? It's down next to Florida. I mean, listen, if little old Homerville, they are rebuilding their town. They've got 2,000 people, I think is their population, and as a community, they have decided we are not going to waste away anymore. We're going to take everything we have. If it takes us 20 years to do it, we know that the only way and it's about survival. Your town is not going to survive if we don't start investing in ourselves. And luckily, Avondale has the resources. So I would say it's not necessarily population. There's got to be this. Yeah. Now that is a challenge for sure. What we find is the biggest investors in our downtowns are our locals. It's people, it's just telling the story of the community, helping the community understand that if we build this, business will come, investors will come. And a lot of times, incremental growth in a community usually happens from the guy that lives next door. He just happens to take an interest in the community. He sees what the city is doing. And so from a city's perspective, and that's one of the things that we talk about a lot is diversifying our economic development strategies. We can't just wait for the manufacturing company to come in and, save the day with all of these 400 jobs. That's just not going to happen for us anymore. And so how can we support you guys as investors in our community to help with incremental development and get to where we want to be?
I think we're at a great point. We're at time. I want to be very respectful of your time. And just as chair of the DDA, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you would invest your time in our community by coming for this. It's a big chunk of time. Thank you very much. Please thank our panelists. I think they did a great job. And I'm sure if you got a few more questions, they'll stick around a little bit. As a final note, I do want to remind everybody that in this very room, tomorrow evening is the State of the City. Please, if you can come, there'll be a lot of great information. We'll have a lot of fun. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.